After a few days of relaxing at the resort, walking on the various trails around the resort, taking in all the views and basically just relaxing, we decided to go on a four-wheel drive RIDGETOP tour, which involved getting into one of the three vehicles and getting tossed and buffeted and banged and pushed and scared the bejesus as we went along these four-wheel drive gnarly tracks which were created by bulldozers during the Second World War for exploration.
The ideal situation. But of course when they started putting roads in for motor vehicles, they initially followed the camel tracks through the creek beds, but they found as soon as it started raining, of course the rain would destroy the vehicle tracks. And with the camels, of course, if there were rocks or trees pushed over or moved out of place, the camels could just step over them or walk around them, but the motor vehicles they couldn't. So after the war, the Americans actually came to Arkaroola during the war looking for uranium, and they put a track through one of the creek beds following the camel track, but as soon as it rained it destroyed the track, and they figured out, of course, that they needed to do what they've done here and go up over the tops of the hills rather than go through the tracks or through the creeks for the vehicles as they come through, because there's just simply not enough space in a lot of places. However, we do get people visiting the track. We had Toyota here about 6 or 8 weeks ago. They were taking photos of their new 300 series, their promotional photos. So when you start seeing photos of the new Toyotas in magazines and that sort of thing, you might recognise the scenery once you've done the tour, because this is where a lot of the photos were taken. We had Ford here about 3 months ago. They had 4 vehicles which were disguised. They were left-hand drive, so they were obviously vehicles from the US that they were probably testing to see whether or not they would be any good released here in Australia on the Australian market. So they were here, with plastic panels stuck all over them so we couldn't tell what they were. And we had Volkswagen here in January this year, so a lot of the manufacturers do come here and try their vehicles out. But we also have people like the universities. The University of Adelaide, for example, has been bringing geology students up here for more than a century, and they do still come up here. So there are a few vehicles that we do see up here at times. So just heading through a little area of Curly Mallee. The trees you can see around us at the moment, quite unusual leaf design on the branches. The Curly Mallee is a mallee, of course, so it does come back pretty well after a drought or a fire. And you see it is starting to come back. I think I'll bring the motorbike. So you can see down to Arkaroola down on the left-hand side. Our first lookout is only a couple of minutes away, so we'll get up there and have a bit of a look and a bit of a chat. Explain a few things about what's going on. Seem to know what you're doing driving in this. I've been here before. Yeah. Trevor, this is Andrew, you copy? Yeah, Trevor, I'm on the way up. I'm at the non-conformity. We just had a couple of folk here that saying coming in the drive have as well. But I'm on the way up and at the conformity.
This is a shot of the actual Arkaroola village, where the driver was telling us that initially this place was explored for minerals, and the Americans actually found radon, which they used for nuclear energy, and uranium in small quantities here. They actually extracted the uranium to make the H-bomb, which they dropped on Nagasaki in Japan during the Second World War from the Australian uranium they found here.
Over there, Mount G, quite often referred to as Regis Crystal Mountain. Lots of crystal up on top of it. You'll see all that white all over the top of Mount G is quartz. There's also turquoise and corundum and all sorts of stuff up there. Unfortunately, a lot of people enjoyed the crystal. A lot of the exploration teams that came in, guys would just sort of sneak off with a couple of sticks of jelly guide in their back pocket.
Your body and your soul, so you can hear the DJ. It takes you in control. So step into the beat now, the beat that makes you move. The movement gives you power, the power to the groove. Come on, baby, I want to party. Come on, right to the dance floor. I wanna spend the day off and everybody's moving. So come on, keep on grooving. So if you wanna party, come on and move your body. Come on and move your body. Your body and your soul, so you can hear the DJ. It takes you in control. So step into the beat now, the beat that makes you move. The movement gives you power.
That white area in the background, that's Lake Fromme, Australia's fourth largest salt lake. It has water in it when it rains, but generally it's just a salt flat plain, and they have found uranium nearby, and they do mine it.
Find uranium, and of course they never did. It's mostly been removed again. But that's why there's roads all around this area. Just along the left hand side, that's new range of course, you can see it there. That's the southern cut. So that's the western boundary. Just the back of those hills is the western boundary of Arkaroola. Mount Fromme station is next door neighbour to the west. We're just out the other side of those ranges. So those ranges, the highest point in Arkaroola, it's the highest point in those ranges, so that's directly to the left at the moment. kilometres from Arkaroola, so that's 932 metres. So that's the one you've got to watch out for. Is actually, you would have thought that in this, there's a little red dot on his altimeter at 942 metres. So as long as he stays above that, he won't run into anything. Yeah, it looks like a road over there, but it's actually a landslide. As I say, there's actually a bit of seismic activity going on. So we've got a fault line on the eastern side of the property. You actually see that the vent before some high with the fault strip. We have up along the fault line, right at the follows the fault line for about a 10 metre or so. And the eastern side of that fault line is moving out. And we do still get
Next, the three vehicles stopped at a stop area where we could take in the magnificent sights of the Flinders Range. Here's the vehicle coming up the hill to the site.
Tell you they won't have me.
Allow a little bit of time between the vehicles because obviously once he gets up there he's got to load and position himself so we can get up there. So you can see a little bit of salt being blown around out on the lake there. So Lake Torrens, fourth largest salt lake in Australia, Lake Fromme I should say. Alright, so we'll get going, get up there and hopefully the lamingtons will be out of the oven and the kettle will be off the boil by the time I get there.
The next bit was fairly scary actually. Look each side, there's huge big drops. It was pretty loose gravel. You wouldn't want to try and roll back on it. Almost there. And we made it. And look at that view. And those tyres are pretty good tyres, to get up that lot. I was quite impressed. Yeah, they hadn't had much water for a while, it's very dry looking. But when it rains, apparently it sort of blooms, all the vegetation becomes quite lush and green, and the only problem is the roads get damaged then. Anyway, we had our scones and cup of tea, and off we head back home again. So basically we go the same road that we came up on, and here's more video of the trip home, back to Arkaroola Resort Village. Next we stop at a memorial for Doug Spriggs' father. He was initially the geologist sent by the South Australian government to explore the area for minerals and its potential for mining. He fell in love with the area, and along with Douglas Mawson, the Antarctic explorer, they managed to get through the South Australian government to make it a national park reserve, and as such it now hasn't been touched for mining. So we continued to trek back along the road that we sort of came up on, and with the panoramas on a different angle and view, it was as good as the trip coming up, with a different perspective of the actual view itself. When we arrived back at the village, we went straight to the bar, and alcohol was necessary for get over the scary moments and the bumping and banging and so forth. But it was a terrific trip, and definitely a bucket list for people to get onto. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I took a while to get around to editing it, and hope you like the video at the end, to give me a like at the end of my YouTube channel. It helps my channel. Thank you.